What's the best prank you've ever heard of /seen/ experienced? We had an guy at work that could not keep a secret. He was famous for it. It earned him the nickname Loose Lips. Anyway, one day my boss, security, did not come in because of another obligation. Loose Lips, who worked constantly on our high-tech security system, asked where he was, and my work partner, in a moment of inspiration, said I can't tell you. Loose Lips became excited and begged. Finally partner caved and swore Loose Lips to secrecy. Then told him our supervisor was on his way to Moncton to collect the $10 million he won the night before in a lottery. Absolute BS. We had a great time using our security cameras tracking him going from cubicle to cubicle, from building to building. We kept our supervisor informed by text of the developments. He was amused to say the least, but mid-afternoon we got a text from him. Loose Lips knows. I just texted him instead of you by mistake. Sure enough, the cameras revealed a fuming Loose Lips stomping towards a security building. He charged in, swore at us. He was not a happy camper. But wait, my partner said we swore you to secrecy. Who did you tell? Loose Lips' shoulders sagged. I told everybody, he moaned. Well, now you had better go tell them all the truth. Yeah, I guess. Much hilarity watching him retrace his steps. The great thing is the gag depended on his own character fault to be successful, and it was a great success. BTW, he didn't improve. When I was 16 I was throwing a teenage strop at family dinner and stormed out. When I left the room my dad told my mum and sister that I was acting up because I was gay and frustrated about coming out. He swore them to secrecy because I wasn't ready to tell them yet. 6 months later I brought a girlfriend home and my sister shouted, "What? Dad told us you were gay." She'd believed it for half a year without mentioning it to me. What the fuck? Wow, LMAO. So your dad or he playing a joke? Imagine your girlfriend's reaction. My boyfriend's high school had a tradition of pranking this one science teacher every year. His graduating class disassembled an old car, dragged the pieces upstairs, and reassembled it in the teacher's classroom. There's even a video. High effort, nobody got hurt. This seems like the ideal prank. My cousin thinks her house is haunted, so her husband and I plugged a wireless mouse into her computer and he's been fucking with her since. Honey, I think the ghost has been watching hentai on our computer. One year for April Fools, the local newspaper posted an article about a truck full of wine bottles that had crashed. The article stated that wine was spilling everywhere and they didn't want it to go to waste, so anyone could bring buckets to fill. One guy at my dad's work saw the article and ran out. All the people at work laughed at him. Halfway to the place where the truck supposedly was, the guy realized his mistake. He then went and bought a couple of cheap wine bottles which he emptied into the bucket he had brought with him, and then walked back into work, tricking a couple of other people to run out for this wine truck. He turned it around. What a comeback. Did this to a guy at work. Bowling league. Wasn't familiar. He threw 3 strikes in a row. When the monitor flashed a turkey he asked what it meant. We told him to go to the main counter because he just won a coupon for a free turkey. The staff had a blast with that one. My fiancé and I go to a thrift store in his neighborhood pretty often. He always looks at the paintings. One day as we were leaving, he told me, "I just know one day I'm gonna find an amazing painting there." About a year later, this spring, I sent a photo of an area of my finance's room, he calls it his shrine area with all his favorite chicks, to a professional artist and commissioned him to paint a 2-foot still life painting of it. Last month I had a friend of my roommate who happens to manage the thrift store hang it with their paintings. Asked my fiancé to lunch by the store. We passed it on the way to the restaurant and casually went in. I died the whole time. On the way out he stopped to check out the paintings and let out the most dramatic gasp I've ever heard in my life. It was like a bad play. I got to watch his brain short circuit in front of my eyes. This is my room. This is mine. It was incredible. My roommate was hiding in a rack of clothes filming it, and I've watched the video well over 100 times. A lady in our office can sometimes be difficult, but she is a pretty good sport. She always complains about gaining weight, even though she has always been about the same size. One day I got the idea to start moving her desk back towards the wall about 1/4 inches after she left. Did this every day for a couple of weeks before she figured out she wasn't getting fatter. She got a little pissed at that one. Jim, oh dang. Whilst working as a butcher, I convinced my fiancée that we were having to change the name of black pudding due to complaints about racism. I told her that we had renamed it Ethnic Slice and that the bosses, in trying to roll out the name change, had put a jingle on local radio featuring the line "Ethnic Slice is twice as nice." She fell for it big time and even had her colleagues roused into a disgruntled rabble over the idea of political correctness interfering with a traditional Scottish food. They were all somewhat embarrassed when I revealed the truth. My senior year of high school, I knew it would be my last April Fools at my parents' house, so the day before, they were gone for a couple hours and I printed out 200 pictures of Nicolas Cage. I hid them in ridiculous places. The storage closet, crawl spaces, books, in the pantry, etc. 5 years later, and they are still finding them. I did this in 2013. But it was at my office. I went around and just hid his face everywhere. So many people were wondering where this came from. I made a site documenting it. I think I got my inspiration from you. Actually, I remember seeing something like that, and that's where I got the idea. I pulled my prank in 2014. 2 Redditors 1 cup. While traveling up the west coast of America, we stopped in this small town for one night. When we went out early that evening walking through town we saw this $5 bill fluttered ahead of us down the street, always just out of reach. We quickly realized couple of kids were literally doing the dollar bill on the fishing line prank. They were laughing and having the best time. It was such a goddamn pure and wholesome sight that my heart grew 3 sizes. I was skateboarding down the street a few years ago when I noticed in the distance some young kids doing the invisible rope across the road to stop the car trick. With this knowledge I decided to play along, so I skated as fast as I could, and when they pulled the imaginary rope across the road I cracked a high ollie over it. They just cheered. I made their day. My teen son slipped a Ouija board into the pillowcase of my super religious aunt. She found it about 3 AM after a long work shift, as she was getting ready for bed, flipped her God-fearing shit, and called me screaming bloody murder. She and her kids were so much fun to prank they always fell for it, and they always blamed the devil. Those Parker brothers will stop at nothing to steal your soul. My senior year somebody took down a bunch of letters from the school name so it read LOL High School. One of my husband's good friends pranked him in his last semester of uni, so for the friend's 30th we hired a stripper to dance for him and rub her butt with lotion. While he was blindfolded we switched her out with another guy at the party instead. While the birthday boy had a good double handful of lotiony skinny dude, but we took the blindfold off of him. Pranking my husband comes with consequences. A student pranked my mom, a teacher. During class, my mom had to go to the workroom for something and had left her laptop open by accident. So one of the students walks over and puts a fake cockroach on the keyboard and closes it. When my mom got back, she opened the computer and, needless to say, got a fright. Everyone started laughing, including her. Quite funny. 1 year before I got into high school, a kid put Viagra in the slushy machine, which is now why we don't have one at school. The old Viagra in the smoothie machine. Classic. Wish I could have slushes though. It's all hard serve now. My mother is superstitious. There was this book she didn't like. Too scary. She threw it in the ocean. I bought another copy, dunked it in the ocean for a second, and put it back on her nightstand. Next day she buried it. I bought another copy, rubbed some dirt in it, and put it back okay her nightstand. Next day, she burned it, panicked, and watched it turn to ash. I bought another copy, rubbed some charcoal on it, and put it back on her nightstand. Next she shredded it. She caught me with another copy sanding the edges to look slightly shredded. Wrapping a giant, obnoxious dildo in aluminum foil and hiding it in someone's carry-on before they leave for the airport. My friend group has attempted a similar prank with a bottle of lube. The bottle is larger than the regulation 2.2 ounces that's allowed by that SA, so it should get caught. We stuffed it into the lining my friend's suitcase before he and his somewhat conservative parents drove to the airport to fly to Iceland. Sadly, he not only made it through security to Iceland, but also made it back without the bottle getting found. I believe he eventually found it, so I'm waiting for it to pop back up in some unexpected location. Guy had a marching band follow the principal of his school around all day. This is on YouTube, you can look it up. It happened several years ago when Toy Story 3 came out. A guy edited the ending of Toy Story 3 so that the screen goes black when they are in the incinerator. Then the credits play, and gave it to his mum who hasn't seen it. The sad sounding version of "You've got a friend in me" they play over the titles gets me every time.
Yeah, isn't that sad?